Hello everyone, this is Momita and welcome to our channel. Our today's video is all about food poisoning. Our today's video is all about food poisonings, particularly when the season changes. When season changes, we need to be very careful. And what I do to be very careful about food poisoning, so to be very careful about food poisoning, we should check food before we cook. Checking what we should check the color, check the texture, and check the smell. Now check the color. What's the actual color? Did the color change? If the color changed, then is it still as firm as it was when we shopped it? And if it is not, then how it smells. Smell is also very important. When three of them together matches, it's definitely the food is spoiled. Sometimes we can easily identify food which is rotten by the look. Sometimes it's not identifiable. Then we need to really press and identify. And we know any fruit or vegetable, when they are raw, they smell different. And when they spoil, they smell little bit different than their usual. This carrot started to rot. We can see it very well from the change of color and the feel of this place. Here we can see difference between a fresh carrot which looks completely different than a rotten, or the carrot that started to rot. Sometimes spoilage might look like this too. This carrot started to spoil. Sometimes we check this point of connection of the fruit with the plant to find out how fresh it is. Softness or the texture of the vegetable, how it feels when we have a look at it. This definitely looks different than the other part that is fresher, that is better than this part. In case of sprouts, their roots should feel fresh and clean. They should not feel slimy or viscous. When they are clean and dry, they are fresh. But if they tend to feel slimy or slippery, they started to rot. Then they started to rot. And in case of meat and fish, they become little bit slimy or little bit opaque in color. The transparency of the food will be changed. It becomes little bit opaque. It becomes little bit slimy. In case of meat, we can definitely smell it. Smell gives a good identification of the condition of the meat. Otherwise, it looks a fresh and clean meat looks different. Then the one that is spoiled would be more slimy and viscous. So this meat doesn't look slimy and viscous, and it smells fresh. So we must smell in case of fish and meat to identify its freshness. So by the look and also by the smell, we can identify. Now according to USDA gives us 4 guidelines to avoid this food poisoning. USDA tells us to be very careful about cleaning, and then separation, then cooking, and 4th point is chilling. Now why we clean? Cleaning is very important, particularly in case of fish and meat. When we are cooking fish and meat, after we cut them, we should clean all our utensils, knife, everything properly. And also in case of vegetables and fruits, we should also clean them. But cleaning after cutting is very important. in case of meat and fish. Meat and fish contains more germs on their skins, on their scales. So if we leave them open and then we use the same for cooking vegetables, we might not understand, but we can end up having food poisoning. And why so? Because those microorganisms sticking to those utensils reached our food. We cannot kill pathogenic microorganisms by cooking. They still causes harm to us. But microbes that spoils vegetables and fruits doesn't cause that much harm to us while compared to microbes in meat and fish. Microbes in meat and fish causes more harm. So raw fish and meat should always be properly taken care. Then comes separation. After we cut them, we should keep them separated. Raw fish and meat should always be separated from fruits and vegetables, and also cooked food. So in our refrigerator, we would always have 3 separate sections. One section for cooked foods, another section for fruits and vegetables, and another section will be for raw meats and fishes. They should not mix. Then comes cooking vegetables. So when we cook vegetables, we can cook little bit. We can cook, sometimes we don't need to cook, we can have them as salad. But when we cook meat and fish, we have to be very careful. We should thoroughly cook them so that the inside of the food is properly heated, because if that is not done, we still can have food poisoning. If the inside of the food is little bit raw and outside is properly cooked, we can still have poisoning eating that food or fish or meat. So thorough cooking of particularly fish and meat is very, very important. Then comes the last point, chilling. Yes, any cooked food should not be left on the countertop more than 2 hours. And also raw fish and meat should not be left outside at room temperature for more than 2 hours. We should keep them properly in the refrigerator. Now, refrigerator should cool the food to less than 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius or below. And we should be very careful about that. Particularly when season changes, we should have something at home to check what's the temperature of the refrigerator. Temperature of the refrigerator, if not sufficiently low, food can slowly spoil even without our notice, and that can be dangerous. So we should have something at our home to check the temperature of the refrigerator, that it's cooling it's cooling it sufficiently to low temperature. So refrigerator temperature should be set properly at the right temperature. And also, while we are marinating food, it's better to marinate in the refrigerator than on countertop. And also, when we are thawing food, it is better to take it out a day before and thaw it in the refrigerator than thawing it open on the countertop. So food poisoning can be really, really dangerous, and people can suffer long for that, and we end up losing all the good bacteria in our stomach. Be careful, stay happy, stay safe, take care, keep blessing.